focus on those goddamn conversions is an unsaid mandate to most of the marketers and businesses in the world. Let's face it. We are told to focus on the bottom line, get as many conversions as possible, and single point agenda of us running all the campaigns is to get conversions. Let's face it. There is no kidding around that, right? But let us look at a few astonishing stats around that. It is believed by companies like Nielsen and Gartner that there is no shortage of information that a user is going through on a daily basis. He is exposed to a ton of ads across different platforms, across different devices. Oh, and let's not forget remarketing. Now, in a situation like this, how can a user remember your brand? How can there be brand recall when he's constantly bombarded with that? Not just that. If you look at this image right here, it says that a user is exposed to at least 10 pieces of content, or a user consumes at least 10 pieces of content across different platforms in different formats before he can actually make a buying decision. Now, in a situation like this, before he actually gets a decision, he's going through 10 pieces of content and he's consuming 10 pieces of content. Now, it is also believed that the percentage of conversions, or the percentage of people giving in their information, whether it is an email ID, whether it is a phone number, is 5%. And not just that, what is surprising is less than 25% of people actually open your email, right? Now that is 1% of the total user base who is visiting your website. Now this is an astonishingly low stat to have. It also means that you sort of have a leaky funnel. Now when I say leaky funnel, I'm not saying there is something wrong with the funnel. Maybe it can get better, and maybe there are certain loopholes that you need to plug in, is all I'm trying to say. Now, how do you plug those holes in the funnel? Is by giving content to users at whatever stage they are at. Now, let's say if this is awareness, how about giving users exactly what they need, which is suitable for this journey, for the stage of the journey they're at. And let's say maybe an overview ad of your product, helping them to achieve as much as awareness as possible, makes more sense. As they move down the funnel, maybe you will start looking at showing them an ad which highlights the benefits of our product. Now, do you see how a leaky funnel actually gets better over time by giving the users right content, or most suitable, relevant content, depending upon the stage they're at in their buying journey or consumer journey? Now, this is all fancy to hear, right? But how do you actually get it done? Because getting it done is the most important thing. And if you can't get this done, there is no point in us discussing all these things. Now let's move forward and let me actually show you how it is actually done. The solution for this is what specialists call as full funnel marketing. Basically, a funnel can be categorized into 3 stages. Let's say awareness. Now let's say this can be awareness. And this is a stage where they're considering whether to buy your product or not. And this is where they actually convert, or this is where the ROI comes in, or the sale happens, right? Now, how about giving users exactly what they need at whichever stage they're at? Usually we start with conversions, right? Because we want those conversions for our campaigns and we want to see the ROI. But putting that logic aside for a bit, how about focusing on all these stages while you also focus on conversions, which is actually a full funnel marketing, which means you run campaigns to enhance the reach of your product, where you start sort of advertise an overview of your ad, or overview of your product, an ad which is talking about an overview of the product, and you just run it across your targeted audience so that you can reach to a wider audience. As the funnel narrows down, why don't you nurture it by giving them a variation 2, which talks about maybe benefits of our product, right? Now, as users move into, not all users are at the same stage of the consumer journey. And there are people who are also at the 3rd stage, right? They're ready to convert. Now, at this stage, maybe showing ad, which is talking about testimonials. Not all users are at the same stage, right? At this stage, maybe there are people you have ready to convert. Now, to these people, maybe showing an ad which talks about your product testimonials, or satisfied customers or happy customers, can actually increase your chances of conversion. That is exactly what full funnel marketing means. Full funnel marketing basically means focusing on the reach along with having emphasis on conversion ads. Basically, do a breadth and depth of the campaigns that you're running for your targeted audience. So you're advertising and you're showing ads to people across the funnel, which inevitably means you are nurturing the audiences who are not yet ready to convert. At the same time, you're trying to build a constant pipeline of people who may be interested in your product while you're actually focusing on the conversions. Now, this is actually what full funnel marketing talks about. It is very tempting for us to only focus on conversions. I only want these conversions, but there may be certain things which we may miss out on if we only look at conversions, which is you fail to constantly build a pipeline, constantly fill pipeline. This is an issue. You miss out on this because every time you achieve your short-term conversion goals, you will have to go back and start building demand or increasing your brand awareness, because the audience that you have gathered and nurtured to build to get as many conversions as possible is now saturated. Now you need to build a fresh pool of audiences to build that demand. Now, if you don't focus on the showing ads at the awareness stage, you are at a risk of losing out on a constant pipeline of people who have the tendency or who have the possibility of getting nurtured along the path. So this is something where you can fail if you don't have a constant flow or a constant pool of people who may be aware of your product already. Now, it is also believed that there is 70% there's a 70% jump in ROI, and this is not a random stat. This stat is from Nielsen, where if you focus on the showing ads at the awareness stage and if you combine it with showing ads at the convert stage, now if you're doing these things together, not just focusing on conversions, there may be a spike of 70% in the ROI, which is insane. And obviously, I mean, it got to be true because you're constantly building a pool of people who may be interested and who could be nurtured along the path that they take towards the conversion. Now, this is an amazing stat to have. And not just that, it also means that we need to focus on showing ads to people across the funnel. Since we are specifically talking about YouTube ads, Google suggests a 3-step framework that you can keep in mind when you're trying to build full funnel campaigns for your videos. Now, when I say 3-step process, it's very simple. First, you need measurement. We need to look at the stats for whatever the ads are bringing in, right? You need to have your attribution in place. Who do you give the credit to? Which ad do you give the credit to? Which keyword do you give the credit to? Now, these have to be in place. But at the same time, focusing solely on those will give you a very limited scope of visibility into what is happening, and you fail to look at the bigger picture. So let us look at what this 3-step framework talks about when Google speaks about full funnel advertising on videos using YouTube. The 3-step framework, the 3-part framework talks about, the first thing is attribution. The second is something called as incrementality. And the third part is looking at your modeling mix, right? Now, let's actually go by these things one by one. Attribution is who gets the credit for the conversion. Now, if you have this information, it is very important. But also remember, when you're looking at omni-channel outlook, when you're looking at people seeing your ads across different, channels, now you need to focus on the channels as a whole, not just look at the very limited possibility of how much did this particular video ad convert for a very limited audience, right? So attribution is important. Attribution is important. You need to see and be able to identify which conversion or which click or which ad should get the credit to. But at the same time, don't forget to look out on the bigger picture. When you talk about incrementality is very simple. What is the lift in conversions, for example, with ads as opposed to without ads? Now, let's say if you're running a paid ad, let's talk about PPC ads. I'm running paid ads and spending marketing dollars. Now, a specialist in this case would ask, when he speaks about incrementality, what is the increment that the paid ads got me as opposed to not having any ads at all when you have organic traffic? Now, what is the increment that the paid ads got me when I could have just run SEO activities, right? Now, with paid ads and without paid ads, what is the increment is what incrementality talks about. And incrementality could be measured in terms of your brand lift. It could be in terms of your search lift. It could be in terms of your conversion lifts, right? Now, when you have about something called as modeling mix, it is simple. There is one possibility where you look at your entire marketing and you decide what is the impact of these campaigns. Now there is another activity where you split this and you say, what is the impact of search? What is the impact of video? And maybe you also talk about what is the impact of display campaigns. Now, looking at all these three things together will give you a different stat when you talk about your ROI. And looking at these things individually will give you different stats, obviously, right? The aggregated score of the ROI will be different when you compare that to independent platforms. So what modeling mix suggests is don't look at things as a whole, split these things into different mediums, different formats, and see where the actual sweet spot is, and then start looking at that. Now, all you need to remember from this session is full funnel marketing is the way to go forward, where you start showing ads to people at different stages of the consumer journey, show them relevant ads for that stage that they're in. The second thing is keep these three things in mind, have attribution in mind, get the stats, also look at the incremental value that these ads are bringing in. Also, don't forget to bifurcate your modeling mix or your marketing mix and see which channel is responsible for what percentage of conversions are or ROI, and then start acting accordingly. So when you bring both the worlds together, we're having a full funnel approach in mind, along with this 3-step framework, you will strike gold when you start talking about full funnel campaigns. That's about it from me, and this is where full funnel marketing comes into picture. My name is Casey. Cheers until then. Cheers, I'll see you again in the next video. Thank you so much for being a part of this stream.